Number 16 is an example of a division problem. With division problems and complex numbers, we turn them into multiplication problems. So what we do is we try to rationalize the denominator. Again, in the denominator, you cannot leave radicals, and an I is a square root of a -1. So here's our radical. We can't leave it down there, so we need to get rid of it. Now, the strategy that we use to get rid of the radicals in a denominator is to multiply top and bottom of your fraction by its complex conjugate, which would be 5 plus 8i. And this will be same thing, 5 plus 8i. This number right here is equivalent to 1. So when we multiply times 1, we just change its appearance, not its value. So we're going to multiply our 5 minus 8i times 5 plus 8i, and we just got done doing that in the previous one. So this is a binomial times binomial, so it's FOIL. 5 times 5 is 25. Our outermost ones will give us a positive 40i. Our innermost ones give us a negative 40i, and that's what should happen whenever you multiply complex conjugates. These middle terms, outside inside, the oi should cancel. So we got positive 40i, negative 40i, they'll reduce. Then we'll do our last terms, which is a negative 8i and a positive 8i is a negative 64i times I is I squared. So we want to make sure that we simplify this again. So below what I'm going to write is 25 minus 64i squared. But I also want to take care of the I squared and change the I squared into its value, which is -1. So it's 25 minus 64 times a -1, which will end up being 25 plus 64. And 25 plus 64 is 89. So now I know my denominator of this fraction is 89. I've rationalized it. It's now a rational number. There's no longer a square root down there or an irrational number. On the top, it's a little bit less sophisticated because all we got to do is distribute the 10i to the 5 and the 8i. So that's going to be 50i then plus 80. I times I is I squared. And we'll do the same thing with that I squared. We're going to change that into a -1. So we've got a -1 times a positive 80. So it's going to be 50i minus 80 all over 89. Now here's the one you got to be a little bit careful with on your format because it's got to be in the a plus bi format, which means it needs to have two distinct numbers. So in order to do this, we break up our fraction and we want to put the i's in the back and the things without the i's in the front. So it's a negative 80 over 89 plus, since it's a positive in front, 50i all over 89. Now that I can either be written on top, but it's more standardly written off the side here, plus 50 over 89i. This is your answer in standard form.